My wife said she needed a mental health retreat. I drove her to the airport, hugged her tight, told her I'd take care of everything at home. Then I got a Venmo notification. She'd paid someone $400 for sunset boat ride. I checked the location, Miami, not Montana. I called her sister. She's not with you? The line went silent. 2 days later, I booked a one-way flight. Not to chase her, but to meet her at dinner. With my lawyer. We've been married 10 years. No kids, not because we couldn't, but because we both agreed we wanted a different kind of life. We liked our freedom. We liked to travel, go out on the weekends, and spend our money on what we wanted instead of diapers and daycares. At least, that's what I thought we agreed on. Her name's Lauren. She's a middle school counselor. Always had a soft spot for kids, even the troublemakers. That's probably why I loved her in the first place. She had this big heart. She'd talk about the students like they were her own. It wore on her, though. That job isn't easy, especially lately. Fights, threats, depressed kids, angry parents, it was piling up on her. So when she started coming home quieter, more drained, I didn't push. I figured it was just stress. Then she mentioned she'd read about a retreat. In Montana? Some place where people go to unplug and rest. No phones, no pressure. Just peace. I need this, she said one night after dinner. I'm burnt out, and I feel like I'm disappearing. I didn't argue. I didn't want to be the reason she broke. I said okay. I helped her look it up. I even paid for the flight. I made sure she had warm clothes and snacks for the plane. I even took off work that morning to drive her to the airport myself. She held my hand the whole way there. Didn't say much, just squeezed my fingers every now and then. At the gate, I hugged her and said, "Take all the time you need. I'll keep things running here." She kissed me on the cheek and said, "I love you." Then she turned and walked through security. I watched her until I couldn't see her anymore. Drove home in silence, stopped for a coffee, then sat on the porch to catch my breath. It had been an emotional week. That's when my phone buzzed. Venmo notification. I didn't think anything of it. We shared an account, and I figured maybe she bought food at the airport. Nope. It said paid, Travis Boat's $400 note. Sunset boat ride sunrise. I stared at it. I stared so long my screen went dim. I tapped it again. $400. Travis Boats. Miami. Not Montana. My first thought was, this must be a mistake. I opened Google Maps and searched the retreat she said she was going to. It was a real place, all right. Nestled in the mountains. But then I checked her Apple location history, something we'd set up years ago when she got lost on a hiking trip. She was in Miami Beach. Checked into a hotel under our joint card. Dinner charges at some seafood place. Spa treatment. Rooftop bar. I didn't want to believe it. My stomach twisted. I sat there frozen, feeling like a fool. Everything about the last few weeks flashed through my head. The late nights at work. The cold shoulder in bed. The way she avoided eye contact. It all started making sense. I called her sister. Her sister Amanda always covered for her. I figured maybe they had something planned. Maybe it was all just a detour. Phone rang twice. "Hey, what's up?" she said cheerfully. "Just checking. Lauren made it to Montana, all right?" Silence. Then, "Wait, she's not with you?" I said nothing. She said nothing. Then I hung up. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in our bed alone, staring at the ceiling. Her perfume was still on the pillow. I kept refreshing her location. She didn't even try to hide it. She was just living it up. Like I didn't exist. Next day, I did some digging. Found out who Travis was. Some yacht guy she'd apparently been messaging on Instagram. Shirtless pics, hashtags like hashtag sunset vibes and hashtag ocean life. A whole other world. Their messages weren't hard to find, she was still logged into our iPad. They'd been talking for a while. Weeks, maybe more. He called her babe. She sent him selfies from our bathroom. I wanted to scream. But I didn't. I got smart. I called a lawyer. Name was Harris. Old school guy. Sharp. Helped my buddy through a nasty split 2 years ago. When I told him the story, he listened quietly. Then said, "Do you want to fight, or do you want to win?" "I want to win," I said. We made a plan. 2 days later, I booked a flight to Miami. Not to fight. Not to beg. But to meet her. At dinner. With him. And with my lawyer. I landed in Miami on a Sunday afternoon. I didn't text her. I didn't call. I just checked in at a different hotel across the street from hers. I'd already memorized her itinerary thanks to her calendar app. She had dinner reservations that night at 7:30 p.m. at a place called Amara at Paraiso. She thought I didn't know. She thought she was in another world. But I was watching. She posted a photo around 6:45 p.m., a martini glass, ocean in the background, her hand with a ring I gave her for our 5th anniversary. She captioned it, "Finally breathing again." I put on a dark blue shirt and jeans, nothing fancy. Harris wore a blazer, neat slacks, no tie. Calm and quiet as always. "You sure you're ready for this?" he asked as we stepped into the Uber. "I've never been more sure." We arrived at 7:32. The hostess led us to a table outside, near the water. The view was beautiful. The sun had just gone down. Warm breeze. People laughing over cocktails. Then I saw her. She was 2 tables down. Hair curled, sundress flowing, smiling at some guy across from her. That was Travis. Tan, bleach blonde, smug. He had his sunglasses on even though it was getting dark. He kept touching her arm while he talked. She hadn't noticed me yet. I watched her laugh. A big, genuine laugh, the kind I hadn't heard in months. That was the part that hit the hardest. She was happy. Happier than she'd been with me in a long time. And I wanted to rage. I wanted to flip the table. But I didn't. I leaned toward the hostess and said, "Can you send a bottle of your best champagne to that table? From Mr. and Mrs. Cooper." She raised her eyebrow but nodded and walked off. Lauren saw the bottle arrive first. I saw her freeze. She read the note. Then she looked up, eyes scanning the crowd. When she saw me, her face dropped. I smiled. She looked like she wanted to vanish. Travis turned too, confused, then annoyed. He said something to her, but she didn't respond. I could see her breathing hard. She stood up. Walked over slowly. "You're here?" she said, barely above a whisper. "I am," I said. "Funny how small the world is, huh? What are you doing here?" Her eyes flicked to Harris, then back to me. "This is Harris," I said. "My lawyer. I thought you should meet him." Her face went white. "Can we talk?" she said quickly. "Alone?" Harris spoke up. "You're free to talk. Just know this, anything said here is noted. We've already filed." "Filed what?" "Dissolution. And breach." "What breach?" "I'll let you two talk," he said and stepped aside. We walked a few feet away, near the railing. Her voice shook. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this." I laughed. I actually laughed. "You didn't mean for me to find out at all. I was going to tell you, when? After the 3rd boat ride? Or the honeymoon? Don't be like this. No, you don't get to say that. I drove you to the airport, Lauren. I packed your suitcase. I trusted you. I was worried about you." She looked like she might cry. I didn't care. "I needed out," she said. I felt dead inside. "So you came to Miami to fuck some yacht clown instead of going to therapy?" I needed to feel alive. "No. You needed to lie. That's what you're good at." I turned back to the table. Harris had already printed documents in hand. He nodded. "I'm done," I said. And I'm not leaving empty-handed. She followed me back to the table, shaking. Travis was standing now, arms crossed. Who the hell are you? He asked. I ignored him. Harris handed her a packet. These are papers detailing joint asset division, temporary support, and property transfer. You'll see there's very little left to negotiate. We've already locked the accounts. You locked my accounts? She said. No, our accounts, I corrected. You still have your personal ones. And good luck getting to the house, change the locks. Travis started to say something, but Harris gave him a sharp look. This doesn't concern you, unless you plan to testify. Lauren stood there frozen. This can be civil, I said, but it will never be kind. Don't text me. Don't call. Everything goes through him now. I looked at Travis one last time. You might want to get a real job. Boat rides don't pay for much. Then we left. I didn't look back. I thought that was it. I thought walking out of that restaurant meant I could close the chapter. Miami would stay in the past, and I'd start rebuilding my life in Athens. I was already thinking about who I'd call to redo the master bedroom. Make it mine again. But 2 weeks later got messy. It started with a letter from the school district. Apparently, Lauren had taken a leave of absence using a mental health waiver. Thing is, that waiver included documents signed by me, saying I was aware of her condition and supporting her time off for treatment in Montana. Except I never signed anything. They'd been faxed in, digitally, with my name, my signature, and a fake contact number. Whoever sent them had covered their tracks well. But not well enough. I called the school immediately. Asked them to forward everything. Took it straight to Harris. He looked it over and said, "This changes things. Turns out, forging medical documentation and someone else's signature isn't just shady, it's criminal. We added fraud to the civil case. I wasn't trying to get her arrested, not at first. But I wasn't going to let her walk away untouched either. She'd lied to me, to her employer, and now she was dragging my name into official documents I never saw. There had to be consequences. Harris sent her lawyer a new packet with the additional claim. That's when the emails started. First, she begged. Said she was desperate. That she'd panicked, didn't know how to ask for time off, didn't think anyone would approve it without documentation. That she thought maybe a break would help her find herself. Then she tried to flip it. You're punishing me for being unhappy, she wrote. I didn't cheat on you, not really. It was emotional at first. I needed connection. Travis made me feel alive again. I showed that to Harris. He just shook his head. People always find a way to make themselves the victim. Then she made it worse. I came home one evening to find a sheriff's deputy parked in my driveway. Handed me a temporary restraining order, filed by Lauren. She claimed I had threatened her in Miami. Said I had made a scene, followed her, made her fear for her safety. I couldn't believe it. I hadn't even raised my voice. Hell, Harris was there. There were witnesses. I had screenshots of every message, including her own text afterward. I'm sorry it ended like that. Maybe someday you'll understand. I took the TRO to Harris. He laughed, dry and bitter. She's playing a dirty game now. We filed a counteraction immediately. By the next week, she was calling my friends, telling them I had abandoned her emotionally. That I was cold, controlling, distant. That I was making her out to be a villain because I couldn't handle a strong woman choosing her happiness. That one hurt. One of my friends, Kenny, actually asked me, "Did you ever see this coming? Like maybe she was just unhappy for a long time and didn't know how to tell you." I didn't answer him. I just thought about how I'd driven her to the airport like a damn Uber driver while she texted some boat bum goodbye kisses behind my back. I thought it couldn't get lower. Then her lawyer reached out with a settlement offer. Lauren wanted to keep the house. She said it had sentimental value. That was the moment I decided kindness was off the table. Harris and I met again, this time with a private investigator he'd hired. The guy had been tailing Travis for a few days. Turns out the boat ride guy had a past, minor fraud charges, unlicensed business operations, a history of using women for money. He was the perfect leech. Lauren hadn't just fallen for a fling. She'd thrown her entire future into the trash for a guy who'd been sued 3 times for failing to pay rent. And she wanted the house? Not a chance. I dug deeper. Found receipts, texts, flight records, all showing how long she'd been planning it. Months. She'd booked her hotel in Miami before she told me about Montana. Bought lingerie online and had it shipped to a locker. Had spa appointments scheduled the same day she told me she was mentally breaking down. I gave everything to Harris. Time to bury this, I said. We were gearing up for war. Harris filed motions, included every new piece of evidence: financial deception, fraud, forged documentation, and now, character issues tied to her association with Travis. He was a walking lawsuit waiting to happen, and I had the paper trail to prove it. Lauren's lawyer called ours and said, "If you go public with any of this, we'll countersue for defamation." Harris didn't flinch. Truth isn't defamation. Then it got even messier. One morning, I woke up to 33 missed calls. All from Lauren. She left voicemails, crying, panicked, barely able to breathe. I didn't answer. I wasn't sure if it was real or a setup. Then Amanda, her sister, texted me. "Something happened. You might want to sit down." Travis had been arrested. Not in Florida. In Texas. Turns out, the yacht guy had been running a fake charter service on Airbnb Experiences. He'd taken a couple from Houston out last week, hit a sandbar while drunk, and abandoned the scene when the boat started taking water. Lauren had been with him. They made it to shore. Nobody died. But when the police ran his ID, it lit up like a Christmas tree. Fake business licenses, unpaid fines, 2 bench warrants. They arrested him on the spot. Lauren wasn't charged, but she was dragged into the investigation. And now her name was attached to his, not just in my divorce documents, but in a public police report. She tried to come crawling back. Not as a wife, she knew that door was locked, but as someone begging for mercy. "I didn't know," she wrote. "He told me he was turning his life around. He said he just needed someone to believe in him." I showed the message to Harris. "Let her keep talking," he said. "We were scheduled for mediation in 2 weeks. But I knew we weren't going to settle. She wanted pity. She wanted to walk away with dignity. I wasn't giving her that." Then the next twist landed in my lap. Amanda called me again. "I didn't know who else to tell," she said. "But Lauren's been talking about selling her story." "What?" "She's meeting with some content guy. She wants to spin this, turn it into a mental health memoir. She's calling it Losing Myself. Says it's about how marriage stifled her growth, how she finally learned to breathe again." I had to sit down. "She's trying to profit off of this?" Amanda sighed. "She says it's empowerment. That people will understand." I hung up and called Harris. He laughed darkly. "If she thinks publishing private details about your life while litigation is pending is a good idea, she's worse off than I thought." We filed a preemptive gag order. And then we prepared for mediation. I knew she'd show up wearing that fake soft expression, like she was the victim of her own bad decisions. But now I had a stack of proof, a new legal strategy, and 0 patience. We weren't just dividing assets anymore. I was taking everything she didn't think I'd dare touch. Mediation day came like a storm. It was held in a stuffy law office in downtown Athens. Neutral ground. Beige walls, glass pitchers of water, a fake plant in the corner. I sat beside Harris, hands folded. Calm. Focused. Lauren walked in 10 minutes late. She wore a soft blue blouse, like the color might make her seem innocent. No makeup. Hair pulled back. She looked tired. Played it well. Behind her was a new attorney, some young guy with shiny shoes and a laptop he couldn't stop tapping on. Travis wasn't there. He was still in county lockup, facing 3 charges and a civil suit from the couple he stranded. We didn't shake hands. The mediator, a middle-aged woman with a fake smile and a notepad, laid out the rules. We're here to seek a fair and mutual agreement. Lauren's lawyer spoke first. He tried to paint her as emotionally exhausted, misled by a con man, pushed to the edge by years of a cold marriage. Said she wasn't trying to hurt anyone, she was just trying to find herself. Then Harris spoke. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. He laid out everything. The forged medical waiver. The false signature. The Venmo payment. The iCloud evidence. The screenshots of her messages to Travis, joking about how I had no idea, and how she was finally free from suburbia. Then he dropped the final piece. A signed letter from her school's ethics board, stating they were opening an investigation into her conduct, given the falsified mental health documentation and her connection to a criminal case. Her teaching license was now under review. She looked like she'd been slapped in the face. Her voice cracked. This isn't fair. I worked hard for everything I have. Harris slid the settlement agreement across the table. You get none of the house, he said flatly. You get none of his business assets. You keep your car, your personal bank account, and we don't press criminal charges, forgery, fraud, and defamation. You sign, or we go to court and burn the rest. She looked at me, her eyes begging. I loved you, she whispered. You were just never really there. I leaned forward. You lied. You cheated. You forged my name and left me to clean up your mess while you danced on a boat with a felon. Don't talk to me about love. She signed. The pen shook in her hand. After she left, Amanda texted me. She's saying you ruined her life. That you went too far. Maybe I did. Maybe I could have let her walk away with more than a car and some clothes. Maybe I could have skipped the PI, ignored the school letter, let her sell her little book of lies. But then I remembered that morning. Her standing at the airport, lying straight to my face. And me loving her like a fool. So no, I didn't go too far. She went first. And I just made sure she didn't get to walk away like a hero in her own story.